All right, so we are going to be talking about how to keep your water from freezing in the winter when it's really cold out. But the best way to do this and the safest way is to just simply go through and change your water 2 to 3 times a day. Just change it out. That is the safest way to make sure that your birds have plenty of water. They have to be hydrated. Now, that's not what I'm going to be doing. What I'm going to be doing essentially does have risks. It does have risk of fire. So if you choose to do this method, I'm going to show you a few things that I do to lessen those risks and to keep my water free flowing. By any means, disclaimer-wise, whatsoever, would I suggest to you to run heat lamps or a power source outdoors improperly, like I'm going to do, to keep your water as warm. Yeah, you got to say a disclaimer these days. It's stupid, but don't do this. I can't teach common sense. Sorry if I insulted you, but if you decide to do this, hey, this video is going to help you in a few tricks to not burn your house down or your shed or your coop or any other thing that you're putting a heat lamp in. So the information you're about to see, I hope helps you not start a fire. All right, guys, the temperatures are dropping and my waterers are freezing for my quail. So today, I've got to get some heat lamps set up. A lot of people don't like this method. People talk about fire. People talk about issues. You can do your best to avoid a lot of these issues. How can you avoid these issues? Well, a few simple steps. Don't use high watt heat lamps. When I say high watt, I'm talking about those giant heat bulbs that they sell at Tractor Supply and stuff. I don't want to heat my entire coop. I've got the infrared bulbs. I only use 75 watt bulbs. That emits the perfect amount of light radiation to keep my waterers from freezing. And also setting them up properly and cleaning them. Right now, I've had all of my lamps stored through the summer and stuff in what has become my hatching shed. So there's a lot of dust on them. And this is common to happen when they're in your pens. They're gonna get a lot of dust and debris that gets kicked on them and feathers. So stop the fire, use a lower wattage bulb, not a ceramic one that holds constant heat. Get an infrared bulb, tongue twister. They apply direct heat to the water, not to the air, but direct heat. Look it up and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Definitely research your heating systems. Not gonna get into that, but today, what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna start cleaning my lamps. This one is really, it was dirty. Basically, all I'm gonna do is very simple. I'm gonna take a clean rag. This is actually clean. It's not gonna be much longer, but it is now. I'm gonna wipe the bulb. I'm gonna wipe the end of the bulb. Yes, you have to make sure that this is free of debris and dust. Then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wipe the inside of this out and I'm gonna clean down into the socket. Why do I wanna clean that socket? If there's anything in there, it can catch fire. I also have a mini leaf blower. This works great for getting all that fine dust off the light bulb and out of the heat lamp. Another big thing is picking the proper heat lamp. This one right here, it's only rated 75 watts. It's a cheap one. I got it when I first started. That's great. You see it here. It's just a cheap one you can get at the store. It's only 75 watts. So make sure you get the right lamp with the light bulb. If I put a 150 watt bulb in a 75 watt lamp, you're setting yourself up for a fire. The best place I found to get a heat lamp is Walmart. This is not one of them. The bad thing about the Walmart heat lamps, they have a huge dish, huge, which is not ideal for what I'm doing. But they're a better heat lamp. So if you've got the space, you could get one of those and you could cut the dish down and make it smaller. That's what I've done because I've used them in my brooders. These are reptile lamps, which as you see, we're gonna get to cleaning these up. They've been in storage. Now, what sucks about these is I picked these up right here from free. They have these on and off switches. They fail. I've had a couple of these, and every one of them switches have somehow failed on me. So I ended up having to cut the switch out and hardwire it. And I did it properly, but that is a lot of black tape I put on it to keep the dust away from it. I actually heat shrink the wiring. I went beyond to make sure that this was done properly and no dust or debris could get in there and touch the electrical. So this is not, don't play with electrical. You don't want to fire. But unfortunately, you can get these. They're really good. It has this really thick ceramic. These are much higher rated. You can put a bigger heat lamp or a infrared bulb in these. What are these? They're 250. No, wait a minute. I lied. 660 watts. That's a lot. These can handle a large bulb. I'm not going to use that large of a bulb, but it gives me some comfort knowing it's not going to fail. The internals are not going to melt and catch fire. Keep that in mind. We don't want to fire. Now, I'm going to get these cleaned up. I'm going to blow them out. I'm going to wipe the insides out really good. Make sure all those sockets are clean. And not just the sockets, but the backs of these, especially these cheaper ones. If you see that, you can almost see into the wiring hole. That's dangerous. And these right here, they actually have a plug inside. Yes, a plug in there to keep dust and debris out of them. The good ones do. Some of the cheaper ones don't. So you've got to keep that in mind when using a heat lamp. Don't want to fire. No fire. Fire is bad. Now, I'm going to get these cleaned up and I'm going to get them set up. And I'm going to put them within about a foot away from my waterer, up at an angle, which we're going to see that in a minute. Now, let's talk about maintenance before I go set these up. Something else to keep in mind, which is very, very important. Since I'm out here unscrewing and screwing this bulb back in, something scary happens. And I just tighten this up. But you see that? Where the socket where it screws in? That piece screws into this. Yes, you can simply, you reach down in there, you can unscrew that from the base. So if the light bulb is kind of sticking in there, you can physically unscrew these two pieces from each other, which is bad. It opens up a spot in here for debris. It also opens up a spot right there around the edge so debris can get into that. So be mindful of that. If you're cleaning these and this starts getting loose and it's one of these that is pressed together like this, that means your socket is coming loose from this ceramic base, and you need to reach in here, grab this insert with your fingers and screw it back into this, because that's what tightens this down and keeps it from being loose. So if this starts getting loose, that means these two might be separating from this ceramic insert from the inside into this. So make sure that this doesn't have any play when you're taking the light bulbs in and out. It opens a risk up for fire. You have to come out and clean these. You cannot just leave them running for weeks at a time with a heat bulb in them. If you've got a 2 or 3 week cold spell, you just leave them running, they're going to get filled with debris. Then what happens? You're setting yourself up for a fire. What happens if a piece of bedding or something or a feather gets kicked up into this heat lamp when it's running. Now again, I'm using a lower watt bulb, 75 watts. It's all I need. It's still emitting a lot of heat. But again, get a lower wattage bulb. I'm raising quail. They do not need heat. The only reason I'm putting these lamps out here is to keep their water from freezing. Keep that in mind. Again, do not go get one of them 250 watt giant bulbs from Tractor Supply or order them offline or your local co-op. They are completely unnecessary. What I am doing is I am setting this up to keep my water from freezing. That is all we're doing here. I am not applying heat for my birds to stay warm. They are very, very hardy animals. They do not need heat. Unless you're like in Canada or Alaska where it's like -50. I'm in the lower 48. So in the US, well, mid 48. So we get 20s. Sometimes it does get down into the negatives, but it's very rare. And even this past year when I had colds, again, they didn't need heat. They need a barrier. Quail need proper ventilation. They need airflow. They do not need heat unless you are living in the North or South Pole. All right? It's completely unnecessary unless you're getting into some double-digit negative temperatures Fahrenheit. I'm emphasizing this, I know. Now, I'm gonna clean these. I'm just trying to get my point across. I don't want anybody catching fire or burning their coops down or setting their garage on fire, all right? Clean these regularly. I'm gonna keep saying it. Every couple of days, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna cut my heat lamp off, I'm gonna unscrew the bulb, I'm gonna wipe it out, I'm gonna clean the bulb out, I'm gonna take my leaf blower, I'm gonna hit inside the socket and make sure all the dust and debris is out of it and off the back of it every few days. Now, when they're cold, they're not as active, but I'm not gonna take the risk of setting my coop on fire, period. It is not worth it. So take the time to do this. It's an added chore, I know. Safety first. All right, guys? All right, so I've got everything wired in. Now, if you're looking, the light bulb is aiming right here. I want it aiming at the nipples. That way they're flowing right about there. See, that's pointing right at these nipples. I want to keep those defrosted. And I want to keep the water flowing. Even with this system, because it's only a 75 watt bulb, I'll come out and I'll still see maybe a little bit of ice up here on top. That's okay. You know what? Get some hot water, pour in it. It'll be all right. It's going to flow water. We're going to be perfectly fine. Now here's the problem. I came out. This is frozen solid. So I'm going to have to take this out of here. Go put some fresh water in it so these guys can get a drink. Now, this over time is gonna melt this down, but I really need these guys drinking water right now. It's cold, they will dehydrate just as bad in a very dry cold weather as they will in 100-degree dry heat. So keep that in mind through the winter time. They have to have free access to water because they can dehydrate just as bad again in the winter and in summer. So we're gonna go defrost this, get some fresh water in here, and we've got to get our other watering system set up so my girls can have free flowing water. Now, something else I have before I skip to that is I have light timers. Why are these great for cold weather? Light timers are great because guess what? You might have 40-degree days, which is ideal, but the temperatures can dip down in the 20s at night. It happens. So if you've got above freezing weather during the day and absolutely freezing weather at night, you can set these timers First of all, right now, let me show you. It has an off. It has an on all the time, which we're gonna be using now because it's so cold. Then it has 2, 4, 6, 8. But the other favorite feature is dusk till dawn. So if you have a warm day and freezing cold night, all you gotta do is set this thing dusk till dawn. Keeps the water warm at night. And guess what? It's gonna keep things from freezing. Then, and also a perk of this, if you're trying to add light, 2, 4, 6, 8 hours, if you're trying to keep your birds laying, this comes in pretty handy as well. But great feature, lessens the risk of fire. How? Because if you don't need it running all the time, you can put it to the setting appropriate, like dusk till dawn, and lessen the chance of a fire so it's not running 24 hours a day. All right, let's talk about securing your lamps. Because sometimes these little clamping lamps, man, they give you a false sense of security. Let's say, for instance, we're gonna clamp our lamp up here. Quail are flighty. They'll hop up and they'll hit stuff. So if you've got your lamp secured just with this clamp, they hit it. Oh, wait a minute, one's knocked it. One pops it up again, one hits it again. Okay, you see where I'm going. Then what happens? This will pop off. This does not secure as good as you would think. I know because I came out one day and one of my lamps was sitting on the ground. Luckily, I had it set to only be running at night. So I picked it up and I was like, we're gonna have to fix this problem. So what we're doing is I've got a block which we're gonna secure right there dead in the center. That's what these 2 screws are for. But if you notice, I've got these right here and I've got this 1 screw on the bottom. So look here, you see that? You see that right there? I could have got a little bit closer. But putting those screws where you wanna hang your lamp, just offsetting a little bit, there's enough pressure on this. Now, this lamp, once I get this block secured, is not just gonna be able to fall down easily. And if it's on, sitting in your bedding, you're setting yourself up to get a fire again. So make sure you do something to make sure, again, make sure that these lamps are secured properly. I don't care where you're hanging them at. Put a couple of screws in the wall. Make sure you've got something that's gonna make sure that this clamp is gonna stay secured into place. All right, we've got everything mounted and look at this. That's not gonna come off. I don't care how hard they knock it around, beat it up. This is not gonna come off here. Now, another thing too, is they got these little screw tighteners here, which keeps the lamp from bouncing around. It's a little wing nut. Tighten that down as tight as you can once you get it pointed where you need it to go. You don't want them to knock this down and be pointing straight at the ground and them huddling underneath it. Oh, she is not liking this lamp in here. I made this for a grow out pen originally. These are some younger birds. This will be their first winter, so they don't know what's going on. I know, honey. But anyway, make sure this is secured down here good, or you might have a crazy protective bird that might attack anything if it looks different. Right here is another example. I'm hanging this one from the rafter, essentially. And if you see right there, I've got screws on both sides. And a matter of fact, this is the heat lamp I found laying in here. So it was a learning lesson. It could have went really bad, but make sure you get some screws. That is not gonna fall down now unless they get up there and somehow magically grow fingers and close that and pull it down. Now, what's the good thing about getting these screws set and getting everything set up? Well, the screws give you a good placement, and every time the cold sets in and you're pulling the lamps out or putting them back in place, guess what? It's already preset, everything's ready, and you don't have to worry about them falling down. So definitely keep that in mind. Just another safety tip to stop you from causing a fire. Here's another example of a really bad day. This is outdoor rated. This is outdoor rated. But guess what? The lamps cords are not, and I had to get this extension cord to run over to that one. Now, I could simply take this, put it inside the box, keep it dry, you know, but then I've got this cord. This cord ain't gonna work. I'm gonna have to replace it. Even that plug there, I can put it inside the box, keep it dry. So you gotta be mindful of this stuff or you're gonna cause a fire. If something's gonna fail, then nobody's gonna have heated waters at all. So I came out here to get this water. It's been about an hour. That's about what it's taken me to get everything set up. And it's already defrosted this. I mean, this was a solid block of ice an hour ago, just an hour ago, literally. So this little heat lamp has got the majority of this water defrosted. You can see it moving. Now you do still have this little ice on top here, and that's fine. It's gonna happen when you have a smaller heat source, but the main part of this all the way around is completely defrosted and is no longer a block of ice. So these heat lamps work great because it does direct heat. Like my hand's down here and I don't feel any heat, but if I put my hand up here, it emits, I'll just say radiation in a sense, not unhealthy radiation, but the infrared heat penetrates what it's aimed on and directly heats, like it's not heating the air. Now these ladies know what this heat lamp does, so they'll get up here and you'll see them huddling over here underneath it when they're cold. They take advantage of it. But what's just great is this water is now defrosted. I don't have to take it out, bring it inside, pour hot water in it, get a huge block of ice out, and it is working properly. Now, there's a lot of systems out there to keep your water from freezing. They actually have heated buckets, they've got heat plates, they've got heaters you can insert into your water or tank or what, and that will heat the water internally. There's a lot of systems out there you can use that are very safe to use. I did this system because I had this stuff readily available. So if you're just starting out, look into these other systems. They're very safe to use and they have less risk of fire. Now I say less risk because you're still running electricity outside and you still have to be mindful of that. So if you do have the finances, I would definitely look into these other systems. All right, so I've got everything set up. All my watering systems, they're gonna be defrosted. They're gonna have open flowing water. I don't have to worry about it. Now, this comes with a very high risk. I do a lot of things to lessen those risks. So if you decide to set this system up, you do so at your own risk. Now, doing things wisely really does lessen those risks. I have had heat lamps fail and melt. Luckily, this wiring that I have, it's set up on a breaker as well. So if something does fail, it is gonna pop the breaker and it's gonna stop pulling electricity out here. That is a huge deal. So I do have that as a backup in case something does fail. Now, you do this at your own risk when you set up a system like this. It is dangerous. I have been very lucky to never have any type of bad fires out of it because I take care of the system and I make sure it's working properly. Even though I'm cleaning the lamps on every couple of days and I'm taking them apart, make sure there's no debris in them, I'm still inspecting them every single day to make sure, first of all, that light bulbs haven't popped, they're still functioning properly. You know, it's a cold weather chore if you have a setup like this outside. But guys, I hope this helps you or deters you from setting up a heat lamp system. There are many other options out there. This is one of the cheaper ones for me because I already have the heat lamps. I've collected them. Most of them I got for free. You know, I got them to use in my brooders and then eventually upgraded to better lamps as I got them. So I had this stuff readily available. I was very blessed, you know, to keep my eye out as I've slowly grown, and picked up, man, probably 5 or 6 of these for free. I did not purchase them. But again, be careful doing that. Make sure you get the proper wattage lamps. I'm going to emphasize that again. You can make this system work as safe as possible, but it does come with its risks. So if you do decide to do this, the system works great for me. It's the lazy man's way to set this up. It keeps the water flowing. I don't have to come out here and change and get frozen water and clean stuff out every day. When I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 water containers, 7, that I'm having to change out water every day, it's a really big chore for me to do that. So this system for me is ideal, but it might not be for everybody else. So please take precaution if you choose to do this.